this. Good afternoon, everybody, or morning, or hello. This is another edible talk coming to you from the Green Market. We're always excited to do these talks. And today we have with us Chef Jason Peru. And it's going to be exciting because we're going to be talking about a taste of TNT, which we will be doing at the Green Market on Saturday the 18th and again on the 25th. So all of you who are listening and have guests, we're going to try to do a whole panorama of Trinidad's favorite foods. But today we're going to have an opportunity to talk about how we got all these foods with Chef Jason Peru. And I would like to say hello and welcome to him and ask him to please tell us a little bit more about his background. Jason.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me this morning, Vicki. It's my first edible talk with you. So all your great viewers outside there, Happy New Year. My name is Chef Jason Peru. I am from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm from the area of Santa Cruz. I am a chef as well as a former lecturer. I was educated both locally here in Trinidad as well as away. I have 2 associate degrees, one in culinary artistry, one in culinary management, a bachelor's in culinary management, and a master's degree. I went to Johnson Wales University and also at TTHTI, where I also lectured from the years 07 to 2013. When I returned to Trinidad and Tobago in 06, I wanted to definitely share some of my experiences that I enjoyed in Miami. So as a lecturer, I was able to educate students at TTHTI over the 7-year course, maybe about 3,000 students at that point in time, modern gastronomy, and being able to showcase our local ingredients that we have here in Trinidad and Tobago in a more refined way. So apart from that, I'm also a television chef where I have a multitude of different television shows over the past 18 years on our local networks, and also on social media where I do varied shows as per brands where they would contract my services to showcase or disseminate brands in a positive way and manner. As Vicki may have mentioned, I have been ambassador for Angostura, for Carib, for Cheap Brand Products, Swiss, and Nova Products, a line of different firms in Trinidad and Tobago. So I've been able to see food from a perspective of a lecturer, from a restaurateur, from the local side of things, from the international side of things, and also to see the modern technology of how food is being utilized right now, and how we can then showcase our local product in different ways, forms, and fashions.
Oh, fascinating. Thank you very much for giving us that background information, which is very helpful. Earlier, when I spoke to Jason about doing this talk, I was asking him about the multicultural influences in our food. He started to talk to me about the food trucks. And so I want to dive in from that point of view and start to talk about how Chinese, Syrian, Lebanese, French, Spanish, all of these different influences may have started with some food trucks.
Okay, so when you think about these things, I have a colleague on Instagram. You all would know him. He follows me. We will chit chat from time to time. Chef Jamie Oliver, and Jamie said once. He said, "You can tell the ethnicities, races, the creeds, religion, the culture of a country just by simply walking through the local market. Just by walking through the market, you can tell the different ingredients that found their way here throughout the course of time, from produce, spices, meats, you name it, and you can tell the types of people or the ethnicities of people that live in the country, and it's so true." Last year, a university student from Chicago reached out to me who was doing their PhD, and they mentioned to me they wanted to do a study on the study of how food has migrated, how ethnic food has migrated its way to different countries. And they told me that they said through their research, they've realized that food trucks or people bringing their food to a country whether it be you cooking on the roadside, vending on the roadside, or even on trucks. It's the greatest way for you to introduce a new cuisine into a country with a low startup cost. Think about it. If I am from, I don't know, let's say I'm from Venezuela, and we have a lot of Venezuelans in the country now. A lot of them have begun to sell their cuisine, whether it be in small firms and small businesses on the side of the roads, cachapas, arepas, empanadas, and it has grown. And I've seen that they're starting to use a lot of our local ingredients inside there. And I did a show recently with a good colleague of mine. He is not only just doing meat arepas, but he's doing aloo, jira aloo arepas. Can you imagine that? He said it's his spin on an aloo pie. So it's amazing to see that not only you look at the avenue in Trinidad and Tobago, where you have Syrian and Lebanese, Mediterranean, Greek, you have all these influences. And it all started on the roadside. And they're all building up their firms and the institutions and building restaurants. And people are loving the gyros or heroes, if you would like to call it that, the falafels, the tabbouleh, the cachapas, the arepas, the injeras, the Ethiopian food here now in Trinidad and Tobago. So it starts from that point of view. You go to the savannah, the strip in the savannah, and you see not only, you know, I mean, yes, we have American cuisine, but you start to see not only Chinese, you see Italian, you see Greek, you see Lebanese, Venezuelan, Colombian, Mexican, Argentinian. It's amazing.
Well, that is amazing. You've really taught me something here. And for those of our listeners who are not from Trinidad, the avenue is Areopita Avenue, which is a long strip of commercial space in Trinidad, which does have a lot of restaurants and a lot of roadside vendors. So, Jason, tell me about the refinement and the refinement of these food trucks. So as now people have come in, I don't remember seeing Chinese food trucks, but in my time in Trinidad, but I would like to know how now the cuisine became more gastronomy and less food truck. How have you seen the influences meld together? Like the example you gave us of the jira aloo pie, as people go into more fine dining, are these influences equally apparent?
I would have to agree on some areas that you spoke about and disagree.
Okay.
When I returned home in 06, 07, that's 2006, 2007, we were in a zone of Ferran Adria and we and all these great chefs, Grant Achaz, and all these guys doing molecular cuisine and using the simplistic ingredients that they had in different parts of the world, in some of the most starved parts of the world, and really using it in a refined way, applying molecular cuisine and the alginate and the different chemicals to really create something amazing. I was taught this and I returned home in 06, 07 and trying to disseminate it onto the country, into the restaurants and showcasing. And I remember one of the great chefs, Khalid Mohammed, at that point in time, he was on the birth of creating a restaurant called Chef Creole. And he already had show already, which was a refined international's presentation of plating food. And, you know, he tried extremely hard to showcase how our food can be refined in such a way by taking something as simple as bodi and just rather than cooking it or cremating it and overcooking it, but just gently blanching it and sauteing it in hazelnut butter. And for some reason, despite how I or him or even other chefs, we try to put together our local cuisine in a really fancy way, people just did not take to it. They thought it to be rather pretentious. I don't know if some were intimidated by it. I remember one consumer told me, say, hey, listen, I don't want to have a mango chow or shadow benny chow on a foam on my tongue. I don't need a shadow benny foam on my tongue. I want to eat the mango and feel the texture of the jolly or the starch or whatever they were using. I do not want to inhale garlic aioli. I do not care for it. I want to dip my fries into it. And I mean, oh my God, the world was going crazy for these things to see how food was floating and foams and gels. And nobody gave a damn about it here in Trinidad and Tobago. They just wanted good tasting food,
Right.
looking good and economical. And after a while, Vicki, I did it for about 3, 4 years and I gave up on it because no one respected it. There was a small niche of people, I would say probably 9% of the population that would come out in the restaurants and would love this and take to it and speak about it. But then how could you survive on 9% for your food cost?
I find this absolutely fascinating because, yes, Trinidad's food culture, this fusion culture, does seem to be a stand up. Stand up, you go, you stand up and you eat doubles, you go and you take away your roti, you go and you have your pilau at the beach. It's not, the food goes with you where you're going. And maybe it is not a sit down culture. This may be something that we might observe.
And so often I try to do something a little refined or what you would say fancy. And 3 weeks ago, I decided to showcase what you call doubles sliders. We're familiar with the concept of sliders as a
Yes.
small burger. And I said, maybe I could cut down a barra, make a mini barra, maybe one fifth of the size. And you do your chickpea, but I use a different bean inside there. Then I refined smash, smashed cucumbers or vinegary and
Yes, yes.
just try the same ingredients that we're accustomed to, Vicky. And people, you could have sworn that I probably murdered or committed rape or something in this country because they posted me, they vilified me. And it just shows you that I don't know if there's a lack of education or people just don't want to see certain things done a certain way. They get intimidated by it and they get upset. And I think all cultures are like,
Well, it's interesting because our culture is such a diverse one, which is why we're looking at this Taste of TNT. And I'll just relate a little story of one of our vendors who's a farmer, an organic farmer, Brian Dixon. And Brian says, he likes to come to the green market because he can plant new things and the customer base at the green market is willing to taste new things. I remember when pink sorrel came out, and many people, or pink or white sorrel, this was not seen as some new biodiversity or something interesting. It was seen as not red. And so the traditions are very firmly anchored. And I'd like for you just to tell us a little bit about thinking back about Amerindian, African, Indian, Chinese, how you as a chef, when you look at this historically, how food traditions continue or discontinue.
I think everything is full circle. Our first people here in Trinidad and Tobago would have been the Amerindians, the Caribs and Arawaks. Let's just talk a little bit about them for people that may not know. The Caribs, they were seagoers. They loved the ocean. So they lived off the ocean in terms of seafood and whatever, marine birds or whatever the case may be. They were a little more hostile in nature. The Arawaks were more of landgoers. They would eat small game, agouti, maniku. They would live on maize, cassava, starches, and breadfruits, and all of these tubers, right? They were a little more pacified in their behavior. And the thing about it is that their favorite dish was pepper pot, as you would know, the national dish of Guyana. And things like cassava bread and the unique types of cakes that they would make. They would use things like mud ovens, dirt and earthenware vessels to cook in. For quite a while, that stuff had been going out. I have to say, since the advent of cable and travel, easy travel, and intelligence being more worldly and going around the world, trying different foods, we may have forgotten a little bit about our food culture in the late 80s, early 90s, I believe. It's when it happened.
Mm.
That's when everybody was, could really go New York, this all over the world. And to cook on a chulha or fireside or eat cassava bread or eat game animals or hunt, everything was seen as being old-fashioned and taboo. And we sort of like forgot about all that good stuff. And all we wanted to do was enjoy McDonald's in 1996 when they first came to Trinidad and Tobago. We wanted to try the pizzas. We wanted to try nuggets. We wanted to have TGI Friday burgers. And somewhere along the way, we became so Americanized that I think we forgot about where we came from. Sure, we had our staples such as our pilau, our doubles, our roti. And you have to remember that these ethnic backgrounds, they would always push pilau. Indians would always push doubles, roti, and all these things. So they always stayed alive. But what happened to the first people's traditions in terms of, the cassava bread, the tubers, the starches, the hunting of wild meat? It just went away. And I think the more things change is the more we come back full circle to it, because now, not only during COVID, but before that, we've now started to come back to cooking on the fireside, earthenware vessels. We're now trying to eat more organically, going back to steam, staichan, the different types of bhajis and spinaches. We're now trying to eat the different foods that our ancestors ate, because the coconut oil, because the longevity of how their skin looked, how long they lived. And I just think there was a generation that we just forgot about it. And now we're getting back into it now. And that same generation that forgot about it or distanced themselves from it are the same ones who speak now and say, oh, we grew up on that. We eat all those things long time. I fed up eat peanut. I fed up me coconut oil. I don't want to see that. My grandmother used to have me eating cassava bread all day. I don't want to stop for the rest of my life. And I just think it was redundant. And they just forgot. And now we're now enjoying it. So it's like, a rebirth.
Yes, coming full circle, and it is, the points that you're making are so very informative of the larger debate that is going on in societies everywhere around the world about relocalization, getting back to eating the things that grow near to where you are, that use less energy, for example, to transport. I mean, COVID did teach us about supply chains and what happens when you have big industrial agriculture, and the health consequences of eating food that has to be packaged and preserved in order for you to eat it. Someone made the point to me the other day, oh, people are talking about organic and saying it's so expensive to buy organic, but you can walk out of your door and eat organic, which in fact, I walked out of my door this morning and I must have picked about 30 guavas. And my spouse will make that into some guava jam very soon, and guava skins. So, the impetus to go back and is perhaps not going back. We should look at it as going forward and preserving it. It's a recovery as opposed to going backwards. It's a recovery of something that was, in fact, very healthy. And so let me ask you, Jason, about your favorite foods and your favorite ways of dealing with what we call Creole or fusion cuisine. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Some of my favorite foods are some of the most comforting foods, not only here in Trinidad and Tobago, but comforting foods from different countries also. So let's just talk about authentic Indian food. I find I can't eat it every day, but I love a good matar paneer or lamb rogan josh. But it's so heavy and comforting with the creams, the yogurts, the milk, the cashew butters. I love that. I love the naans that are done in the earthenware tandoor ovens. I love that stuff. I love a good macaroni pie. Again, so comforting, but with the cheese, the cream, the milk. A good pilau is hefty and nice. It's comforting. A pilau stays warm in a pot for like ages. You make it 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the night, it's still hot. The same goes with a good cow heel soup. These are some of the drinks that I enjoy. You know, a good bar doubles that is fried on the spot, or as we term, hot on the spot, or not as I term it, sweaty wax paper box press doubles that have been fried 3 o'clock in the morning and served at 7 o'clock. No, but when you experience a true barrel that is fried straight off the oil with the crispy edges, slight puffiness, and a great chickpea curry going on top of it, these are things that make you smile and remember that, hey, food is something that is not only for your nutrition, but it also puts you in a good mood. So yes. I am a huge believer of supporting our local foods. I've been to this place, 139 Woodford Yard.
Yeah. Yes, Woodford.
Right?
New.
Talk to Mr. Strolling on, aka Chinese Laundry, and he's been bringing in authentic Jamaican cuisine inside there, you know, and all these different aspects. And I just went to that festival last week, and red beans and rice and barbecue pork, and it's good to know that I don't have to sit down in a fine dining restaurant, even though it's great. I have no problem with it. But I can go somewhere, whether it be roadside or support a local establishment, get something that is moderately priced, use the ingredients that were grown in my country, from the pumpkin, the same booty,
right?
You know, all these great things. The chicken, the callaloo, the dashi. My refrigerator, I went to Caparo weekend. I brought back yam, I peeled my yam, I cut it up in cubes, and I have it frozen. My breadfruit, everything. Guys, to be honest with you, I do not purchase, and I'm being very, very clear with you guys, I do not purchase produce from a supermarket.
Yes. I
go to either Shaguanas or Caparo or into the market areas, into the bush, and I buy directly from the farmers. I take one day and I buy crates of eggs. I buy my produce, pumpkin, bodi, my pak choy, my callaloo, my tubers, and I also support a local poultry depot. I just got 3 chickens for $110.
Very
One
good.
chicken inside of the supermarket is $55 to $65 now.
And they're very soft.
So, guys, it's all about staying local, and that is something that in my cookbook that I've used recipes or created recipes that have international flair, Vicki, but I've substituted, instead of using baby spinach, I have pak choy inside there.
Okay.
You get where I'm coming from? Rather than using some sort of arugula, I have local kale inside there. You know, and this is what I'm doing. I'm using plantain in my Bastilla pies rather than using some other random ingredient like jicama. So it's all about the mindset and getting people on board with that.
Very good. Jicama is something that I love, and one of our farmers has been growing jicama too. It is interesting because everything was introduced except for what was grown here. So we did another talk the other day about ecological eating, and we had a nutritionist and a botanist, and we have to worry about what plants we can actually grow here. What are the fruits and vegetables that can grow? Some have come from Asia, from other tropical regions, and some have actually been adapted. I mean, the lettuces and the kales and so on are being adapted to our climate. And that must be interesting for a chef to see which
Most definitely. I went to Blue Waters. Blue Waters has a ranch going up to Aruka side. And do you know that they're growing goji berries, wolfberries, and a small amount of raspberries there? I was so amazed because I was taught as a toddler that when you see strawberries, it's a product of the United States. Blueberries, raspberries. And the climate here, whether it's something that is controlled or it's mimicked, I'm glad to see that it's being done because, hey, who knew we could grow grapes here? And that's been something within the past 15 years we've been experimenting with. We have local grapes now, and that's amazing to know that we can do the same. In Jamaica, they grow strawberries.
Well, Jamaica has a different, they really do have highlands. They get the cold snap that is required for those kinds of fruits. I mean, that was a big headline here the other day. You know, Trinidad produced its first raspberry, I think. But, you know, we have many other fruits which we are kind of letting fall out of circulation, and that have all kinds of not only medicinal value but nutritional value. I mean, I think of, you know, kaimet and balata and a lot of things. I mean, even the what is this plum, the purple fruit, I'm not remembering its name right now, that the birds love it as well. But, you know, all of those things, I mean, I think of acai in Brazil. I can remember that one. And, you know, it has certainly the same kind of nutritional value in terms of antioxidants as blueberries, for example.
Right.
We still need some more validation and perhaps more research on our local fruits and their potential.
Well, I have a local show that I do online. It's called We Outside. And it's always shot in the bush, in the outside realm. And I meet up with so much great farmers, fishermen, hunters, divers, bushmen on the whole. And to hear them, they have a wealth of knowledge. Listen to them speak. Not only do they know their land, but they are familiar with botanical names and fruits, the different species of trees. And they mention you may look at one fruit and one may call it Rolina, next one will call it Kashima. Somebody might say, hey, that's sugar apple. And as you mentioned, yes, we have educated people here who know about these things. I guess it's just a matter of getting them together to chronicle or build that database. And you'll be amazed that as simply as just walking, like in Santa Cruz, if you go deep into the bush, you'll find these same trees that are just growing aimlessly there, and no one knows. And it just falls to the ground, and no one knows if it's poisonous, no one knows if it's sweet, no one knows its name, unless you're going with a well-learned bushmaster.
Yes, exactly. Or a botanist, of which we have quite a few in Trinidad. Yes, Shane and Yasmin, I'm thinking of them for the pollinator garden. It's absolutely delightful to talk to you. I really want to pick up on that last point that you made about recovering that knowledge from the people who actually work the land and know our landscape so well. And, you know, the Green Market did become part of the Slow Food Earth networks. And I'm really going to encourage you and your colleagues to think about becoming part of the Slow Food Chefs Alliance, because I think that might be a really interesting way for us to work together a little bit more closely on the educational aspects. Jason, I'm going to give you the last word. If you'd like to say anything else about this stroll through the gastronomy of TNT, I think we should do it again, maybe with a panel of other chefs, and see what we come up with. Maybe we can have a real fine dining experience in the Green Market with chefs creating food from our farmers. That would be great. But let me hear the last word from you on Trinidad's cuisine.
I must say,
Trinidad and Tobago, I should say, excuse me.
I'm recently well-known food traveler and blogger came to Trinidad and Tobago. His name is David Hoffman, and I had the honor to move with him throughout the period that he was here. And he has been to every single Caribbean island. As he tasted the food in Trinidad and Tobago, he did spot out nuances of similarity from different islands, whether it be from the column, the breadfruit, the cornmeal, the fufu, the polenta, or cocoa as we would refer to it. And he said, listen, every other island, whether it be Barbados, Grenada, St. Lucia, Antigua, they have tourism working for them so well that people are coming there and they're enjoying the Caribbean, because it is the Caribbean and the food that they offer. Said when he was suggested to come to Trinidad and Tobago, little or none was known about Trinidad and Tobago. All he knew about it was the Mecca, Carnival, oil and gas, and that's it. No one cares about tourism here, or whether it be medical tourism, sports tourism, food tourism. He said, but as far as your food is concerned, you guys are the most eclectic as it relates to the cultures that you'll have here. He says, I've been able to, and I've traveled all over the world from Africa to Dubai. He said, you guys have nuances of Chinese, Syrian, Spanish in your food. You have Portuguese in your food. You have Indian in your food. You have African elements in your food. You see, and that's what makes it so diverse. And I guess that's why we're speaking about the fusion here. He said, you guys have something special that you could market Trinidad and Tobago as being the food capital of the Caribbean because of your flavors are so diverse. They're full of vitality and action-oriented. It's colorful. It's got personality. And he said out of all the series countries that he visited within the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago's the food from Trinidad and Tobago got the greatest response because people have no idea that Caribbean food, or what they term Caribbean food, was so amazing in Trinidad and Tobago. So my wish is for us to just stay proud of what we are. Every chef outside there, even yourself as an entrepreneur with the green market, anyone who is involved in food production, to ensure that we are patriots to our food, our culture, showcase it to the world, post it on social media, do edible talks, export it, be proud about it. Don't hide it away. Speak boldly and bravely, boast about it. Because that's the only way our food will get out there, and the only way that we actually would have some sort of self-pride and say, wow, people in Egypt actually love our cuckoo. Wow. And it's only when a culture or people enjoy our food outside, or whether it be our music, our fashion, our sports, or something is done outside, we re-import it back to Trinidad and say, that's us, that's our own, that's us, that's us. We love to feel proud. But we don't need to wait until it actually goes. Let's start it from Trinidad and Tobago and disseminate it proudly. And that's what I do every day. I post, I do my shows, and I showcase Trinidad and Tobago food as the best as I can.
Well, on that note, I can only thank Chef Jason Peru for spending this time with us. It was really great to hear this, and I love that word, the vitality of our food. So let's go out and promote it, promote our farmers, and everybody come and give us a visit on the 18th and the 25th, and we're going to be trying to do a tour of all of those different foods that Jason spoke so glowingly about. So enjoy, everybody, enjoy Carnival. And we look forward to seeing you another time. Jason, come and visit us in the market. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye.